Welcome to VisiQuate Chalk Talk. This is part one of a three-part series on what we believe it takes to create peak business health. In part one of this series, we're going to talk about a healthcare consumer longitudinal record. I know that's a mouthful. What is a healthcare consumer longitudinal record? Here's what it is. Every data element must be logged, must be grouped, must be sequenced, and most importantly, must be time-stamped. Every business event is recorded. There are no data overrides or data leaks allowed. Moving from left to right here, this is an example for most healthcare provider enterprises of the data landscape. You have your HIS, Epic, Cerner, Meditech. Doesn't matter, HL7, ANSI X12. We deal with all data standards, all data formats. Admission, discharge, transfer, insurance information, census information, clearance information, getting eligibility from the payers, getting authorization and certification. By the way, we can get any data set that is in the form of third-party or peripheral systems, log, survey, text, XML. Let's go through left to right: appointments, scheduling, charges, orders, charge master, medical records, CDI, NLP, encoder data, grouper data, procedure data, DRG data, CPT data. We can get the CCD record, which is a great container of clinical data if we need dynamic or unique extracts for the EMR. Then we get into the core age trial balance, the detailed patient accounting data set, accounts, transactions, zero balance accounts, very important to do hindsight analytics. Where am I today? Where am I headed? How did I get there? So historical trend data. 276, back to the ANSI X12 data set. Claim status, whether you have the X12 format or a custom format from a third-party vendor. EDI scrubber, the claim file, the remittance advice file, very rich data sets. Contract management, expected reimbursement, third-party credit scores, address verification. Now we're into revenue finance and what we call ancillary data sets. Decision support, costing, contribution margin, general ledger, treasury data, lockbox data, reserves. Again, bolt-on systems or third-party data sources. You have to thread the needle across all these data sets at both the consumer, healthcare consumer, or the patient, and the guarantor. Ingest all of these, normalize this data, enrich this data. Now, let's talk about what this is meant to be: a visual representation of the longitudinal record. So you can see whether it's the consumer or the guarantor, all of these data elements. Again, every business event is recorded. Now let me take you through a little legend here. We have core data elements. These are from all of these core data sources. We have enriched data. Enriched data can come through the form of a third-party data set. It can come from a business rule, but it's what makes this data sing. We can have custom business rules that are created either at the data integration level or on the fly by the user in a workflow. And then really important is changes, right? But again, from pre-care, pre-registration to zero balance, all of this data must be sequenced, grouped, and time-stamped, and there can be no data leakage, no data loss. This is the foundation, the data foundation of what it takes to create peak business health. In the next two videos, we will be talking about how this data gets converted in its raw form into usable, functional data sets, data marts, and the like. And then we're going to talk in the third video about how the user consumes the data in a very role-specific way, whether it's the CFO, whether it's the chief nursing officer, whether it's the chief marketing officer, chief medical officer, biller, collector, case manager. Everybody needs data to solve a different problem in the enterprise or exploit a different opportunity in a very role-specific way. So that's what we'll be covering in videos 2 and 3. Thanks for joining VisitQuake Chalk Talk.